So my best friend, we always used to use our birthdays to get what we wanted. We looked at products. We were like, oh, I want that really fancy pair of jeans. I want to go out and do this thing. But what happened is suddenly I realized we were starting to lean towards experiences that were shared with each other, and it's completely adverse to our personalities. So our personalities are more risk adverse, and yet my best friend, who's a business transformation risk adverse person, is saying, hey, let's go on a hot air balloon ride. We get in this hot air balloon ride, and it's the chief risk officer of BC Hydro in the balloon with us. I'm like, really? What's going on? Like, you realize there is no, it's a flaming ball of gas that we're drifting aimlessly. I had to use my phone as the GPS for them to find us as we landed in some farmer's field in the remote regions of the nethers of a cow pasture. So I was like, okay, something's going on. So we looked at it from another thing. I started seeing economists going and shifting towards topics that were really kind of odd. Why are economists researching happiness? Shouldn't that be an HR topic? Or shouldn't that be psychology? Why is it economists that are looking at this? So they started realizing that in luxury brands, you're focused on the experience. It's not just good enough to have a cool product. You actually have to focus on the feeling and everything that's generated. So you have to do something different. The other thing they started looking at is that PR firms are starting to educate executives on what to say in the marketplace, what they're going to do, their decision-making processes, how they respond to current events, because it's an exponential impact. So they're looking at the social impacts. And some of the things that we saw in the marketplace was, for instance, MEC making a decision based on a shooting down in the States on their helmet line. So we started realizing that the economy is actually doing something different. Now, I was working in a consulting firm, and I was so tired. I wake up happy. That is who I am. I love it. I wake up going, yay, the day is starting. Well, I opened the door one day, and my two little twins, they're little, like 2.5 years old, barely speaking. I opened the door, and their first words out of their mouth was, Mama, no happy. Oh. My whole goal in life is to help people be happy. I want to have people going home with energy. And my entire thought process is like, what am I doing now? So if I'm helping firms, businesses, employees be happy and I'm coming home burnt out, something's wrong. So the next day I actually quit that job. Yes, I know, sometimes I can be impulsive, but my risk-averse pilot husband said, go for it, we can't stand you like this, we want you happy again. So I literally quit with this statement, I'm sorry, I have to get back my happy. And he's like, what? I don't understand. So I got back my happy. And this summer, I had hosed down by my kids at the firefighter event, but it was focused on doing something different. We want organizations and people to have energy at the end of the day. And what does that mean? We want them to be productive. But what we realized that organizations were stuck in past eras. So you have products and processes generated around that in the 70s, product and service. We saw information in the past talk about fourth industrial revolution impacting where we are today. But customers are kind of like king in the 2000s. So your processes are focused on customer-centric processes. It's kind of like the squeaky wheel gets the grease. Well, when you analyze that, you're actually burning through all the capitals of your organization, and the employees are taking the burnout. They're taking the heat. So what if we switched to the thought process of an experiential, social-centric organization? We then start having this awareness. In the last 15 years, 52% of the organizations are kind of going down the tube. They're going bankrupt. Why is this happening? And what's even scarier is in the next 10 years, over 75% of them will have disappeared. And that's because they're still stuck in past areas. So they're making decisions that are perhaps not the right ones. And yet some organizations are really doing something different. They're thriving. They're transformative. Not all of these organizations are actually tech or consulting, but research hospitals? How is it that they're being compared to some of the best things in the marketplace? Well, what I started looking at is who's got this figured out. I know, we always want to look outside, right? And I came across the writings of Michelle Hogan. Michelle Hogan started looking at amazing research that he had done. She worked at Strativity out of New York. And she started looking at that brand is a result. If you're focusing on the identity of the organization, then generating real promises divided by the experience, internally, externally, as a consistent approach, you then have brand as a result. Now, what's interesting, at the same time as I was looking at Michelle's work, I came across Jacob Morgan. Now, Jacob Morgan started looking at the environments in workplaces and saying that the environments had an exponential effect, and therefore they're experiential, if you get all of these in balance. Now, if you think about this, so Michelle's saying that the internal experience and the external experience, two sides of one coin. If you think you've got a good customer experience and you have really disengaged employees, perhaps that's not right. So then you start looking at the environments and saying, hey, well then shouldn't we have consistent environments internally, externally? It's two sides of one coin. So then that is what makes experiential. Now, when we look at it, they are outperforming their competitors. They are functioning on different operating margins because they can do it with less headcount. Yes, almost 25% less headcount. That's fantastic. So that means that people are thriving in work instead of surviving, and customers are feeling it. Now, I looked at Bain's research. Bain's research, they're saying there's a difference between a satisfied operation model and an inspired operation model. Now, I looked at what this actually means. So I call it my 15-minute story, but it's where 15 minutes can actually be impacted through productivity. And I'm going to go speedy because I'm watching my clock here. But how do you start? So in design thinking theorem, if you have an idea of thinking human first, what does that mean? I look at where are you at? So meet you where you're at. So figure out where you are at and where you want to go, and then go for it. So start by personalizing. Now, I'm going to quickly introduce Manfred Max Keith's model, because there's a matrix out there that he is an economist as well, and he started looking at the satisfiers interacting with the needs. So if you get this balance right, then you're able to start looking at the fact that there's an ebb and flow effect, that it's life. It's not a linear thing like Maslow's hierarchy thought, that 1 + 1 = 2. No, it actually ebbs and flows. You're then able to think about this as the model. Personalize, be human in every single process, so humanize the experience. And come home happy. Inspire infinite results, be different, and thank you so much.